The monument is the hole in the wall that I punched and then shat in. That's the monument that I will have from all this construction.
I'm sure you will. Not the dead bodies inside the concrete in the basement.
Right.
That I put there.
Right.
Yeah, no.
You bring that up often enough, I'm starting to wonder.
I'm a horrible liar, and I'm actually not good at gaslighting, unlike, what my girlfriend says, don't believe her. She's kind of, but sometimes I can just say the weirdest shit, and because it's me, sometimes you might believe it. Like, you still think that I do actually have an account for the Bible Man Wikipedia. I really don't, but you do not believe me anymore, and it's so funny.
I thought it was just a Wikipedia account that you have in general, and then you can go in and edit it.
I don't have that either.
Exactly. Yeah, that one I don't believe.
Exactly. You freaking dweeb. The first time I said it, I didn't even try to, make it sound serious. But then I kept repeating it, and you're like, yeah, that's true.
You are the agent of chaos that would put disinformation on some freaking back hole political party page. Like, no, actually, the anachronistic anarchists believe that...
Eating babies. Wait, no, I think eating babies is good. Never mind. I don't want to ascribe that to a political party I like.
The anachronistic anarchists?
With Chinese characteristics.
That's a good setup for a joke, but I gotta look up the definition of anachronistic.
The words you're saying actually make sense.
Crap. That's not what I wanted. Guess I'll have to start this joke over.
No. No do-overs here. Absolutely no. None.
Only clowns can vote for them. And you have to bring in your clown license. Your Barnum and Bailey supplied clown license. Otherwise, your vote doesn't count.
I just think you have to go in costume. I think that's a much easier form of verification.
But...
And if you can make a child cry, you are a good clown.
But if you go home and shower and change into a different kind of clown...
Yes.
You can vote again?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's how you rig the system.
We're only letting clowns vote. I think we're already rigging it. Welcome back to Dime Gaming Bros, where we talk about politics.
No.
And I gaslight Jacob a lot.
Okay.
Mostly by accident.
Maybe.
That's the best part, is I say that. And I believe it, but I don't know if you believe that I do it on accident. So thusly, I'm like double back. It's so good. I'm so smart.
It's a double gaslight.
Yeah.
It's like when you're lighting the pilot light and it blows up in your face.
Yeah.
You lit the pilot light.
Yeah.
But you also lit yourself. And you're lit while you're lighting the pilot light. I can't talk. The pilot light.
You have to use the pilot light to light.
6 beers deep.
Oh, hell yeah.
Lighting a pilot light.
And then you need to use the pilot light to light the doobie.
Yeah.
You can tell I smoke.
We're here to talk about games and gaming news, and then gaming movies, and then more games.
And then Spencer will probably have a rant about unions in there somewhere. At least once per episode.
Unions are definitely made of clowns.
There are clown unions. I mean, there's clown agencies, Joker taught me this. So, thusly, there must be clown unions. It is a field of work. Clowns probably should be unionized, so, it makes sense. So, I was going to review Gone Home, the definitive edition or whatever, that came out for console, but it was really short, and I just didn't have enough to say about it. So, I switched topics. Fuck you. I played Ryse, Son of Rome. It was a...
R-Y-S-E.
Yes. It's like returning with a V, but it's with a Y.
It's...
Cool. It's cooler.
Pre-Zoomer Riz.
Kind of.
If I'm honest.
Kinda, yeah. It was developed by Crytek in collaboration with Microsoft Game Studios. Released as a launch title. It was originally It was originally planned to be a first-person Kinect game, and then it got moved into third-person. And then as time went along, the Kinect, which was still a big push at the time, especially for the launch of the Xbox One, it kind of petered off. There are still remnants of it in the game for sure, but it definitely it's not a Kinect-focused game. So it's set in an alternate Rome because, of course, and you play as, I don't even remember his name. That's how much this story stuck with me. A dude who you start off in media res, in the middle of something. You find the Emperor I believe it's Nero, actually. Is it Nero? Yeah, I think it's Nero. Whatever. You find him. You're like, yeah, we're gonna protect you and shit. And then turns out, JK, you're not actually. As the story unfolds, it's all like you telling a story to the Emperor while you're in like a safe room. So then you have all the flashback levels, which is most of them, and then there's like a resolution at the end. And then turns out, JK, you're actually there to kill the Emperor, because Emperor Stinky. The characters are boring. Was my biggest gripe, I guess, with the story. Aside from the obvious, it's violently historically inaccurate. Really, really poor logic on a lot of the stuff, but it's also alt history, so I kind of expect it to be very ahistorical. That's kind of the point. The gods definitely exist in this. They're just kind of there doing stuff in the background. It's really weird. So you spend most of the game working your way up through the Roman Legion, getting higher in rank. Your first flashback level starts with you like being a fresh enlistee. I think you're like 25 or whatever. And then as the game progresses, you go on bigger and bigger conquests and dominate a whole bunch of backwards English barbarians. This game definitely does not have a handle on its racial politics at all. It's pretty bad. Big surprise. Game set in Rome is very, very racist. Wow. And then, yeah, you just move up and shit, and then you uncover a conspiracy, man. The Emperor had your parents killed. I don't even remember why. But, yeah, so you have this big old vengeance. So as you work your way up the ranks, you become more conflicted about the way that the Roman Legion fights, and Rome, and allegiances, and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really surface level. It's not bad. It's just really... I don't want to say ahistorical as like a criticism, because that's expected, but it's very... This is like the pop culture idea of what Rome was, aka the marble statues were all white and they weren't actually painted like they were in real life. You know, like that sort of Roman glory. It's very racist is what I'm trying to say, I guess. It has a very poor handle on its like ideological conflicts, not just because like I disagree with it. It just really doesn't try, which is really strange, kind of disappointing, but whatever. It is an action game. So the story is trope city. You know, every character you meet falls into a strong archetype. You know, you have your nice mom who dies immediately, your dad who's like a nice soft old man who's like, yes, and you will work for the glory of Rome, and then he gets stabbed and shit and whatever. The characters just fall flat. Whatever, they're nothing. They're not offensively bad, but they're not really interesting either. It was early motion capture, which I think actually holds up pretty well for the most part. Motion and performance capture for cutscenes, and I think some of the animations in gameplay. So the presentation is a pretty darn good, and also holds up surprisingly well for being 11 years old. Again, being a launch title for the Xbox One that couldn't even run full HD at the time. It was running 720 HD, so pretty impressive. The musical score is really, really good. The way that the menus operate and like the general user interface is fairly simple, but it works well. A lot of like red and white motifs. Like I said, it's very pop culture Rome, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It fits in well as a complete package. It's presented well. The cutscenes themselves are pretty good. The hair is abysmal by today's standards, because that's one of the very few specific things that's like evolved drastically is like hair simulation. The faces are still pretty solid, nothing amazing, but the draw distance is actually pretty good. The graphics are fairly high res. I think where the technology kind of evidently falls short now on the back end is the amount of like repeated character designs. There's like 8 enemies and that's it. Same thing with like your Roman cohort. There's like 3 or 4 archetypes that everybody falls into, and they're just copy paste, which is fine. That really does take me out of it, because I don't want to compare it to a much worse game, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey has very large scale combat with a bajillion people on screen at once, and it's a horrible game and I don't like it. But like in terms of scale, you know, we've gotten better at doing, you know, big battles and shit. So it's fine on that front. Gameplay is pretty fucking good, actually. So this game was not panned by any means, but it was also kind of a 20% flop at launch. It was just not really what people wanted or expected. The Xbox One had a pretty notoriously bad launch, especially in terms of its exclusive games. This was just not really... This was one of the things they were banking on being really successful, and it didn't, like, bomb, but it was not, we launched a new Xbox with a new Halo. Like, come on, you fucking idiots. So it just didn't really capture the cultural zeitgeist that much, especially because in terms of kind of story and theme, it doesn't really have much going on under the hood. It is mostly a gameplay machine, which is fine, but that just doesn't generate a lot of hype. They were mostly hyping up the visuals and the Kinect related features at the time. So I was actually pretty impressed with how the gameplay is actually like pretty good. It is very repetitive, admittedly, but it is kind of like a hack and slash. It is animation based. There's like 2 attacks, and as the game goes on, you have a sword attack, a shield like bash, a roll, and deflecting or parrying. And everything is just kind of a string of those together. The game will randomly pick a billion different moves that fall within the parameters of each button press, so it does string together some pretty cool looking shit, but you have just like no control over what the specifics of what you're doing is, which is fine. So pretty much all of the enemies outside of maybe the first level actually require a decent level of engagement, not like Soulsborne here, nothing like that, but you can't just actually do the hack and slash method of literally spamming buttons. You can theoretically do that, but you're going to get horrible rankings in terms of like your performance. You're going to get demolished eventually. A lot of enemies just dodge like a lot, so you have to constantly be switching back and forth between hitting them with your shield, trying to parry one of their attacks to get a good opening, and then actually attacking them. So it's not too much, but it's pretty good. It's, I would say, a step above like the first Assassin's Creed model when it was still animation based, so not the current set of quote unquote RPGs that have the hitbox system. So that it's a little bit above the old one. It's not as fun as that, but it does provide a little bit more depth than I was expecting, which is cool. It also has an execution system, which is dope as shit. So when an enemy gets really low on health, 99% of the time you're going to want to perform an execution on them. You hit the right trigger, and then it goes into slow motion, and it's a QTE that I like. It's surprising, I know. The enemy will be highlighted in a certain color that corresponds to one of the buttons on the gamepad. Which obviously corresponds to what you're doing. So if the enemy flashes yellow, then you hit Y, and you do like a shield related thing, or it's your offhand, which is your left. So you then there's 2 to 4 different button prompts during these executions. As you go on and level up, you can get more different flourishes and whatever. So based on your timing of how well you hit them, you can spam any button and not hit. Like, you can hit the incorrect button every time, you'll still kill them, but you will get, like, no XP from it. And the executions provide you with health, experience, health, experience, and, like, your focus meter, and something else I genuinely can't remember. So you want to alternate between picking those things. You choose them with the D-pad. Most of the time, you're probably just going to be doing executions for health. But if you're doing, say, a boss fight, I usually tried to use those for more XP. I thought that system was actually kind of neat. It just helped feel like I had some level of control on the gameplay. There's also contextual executions. So if you are near a ledge, you can kick somebody off of it, depending on if you execute the combo right, or the button. The game actually registers that person is near a ledge. You can like smash people into spikes that are nearby. All sorts of cool stuff like that. That adds a surprising level of depth, again, for a decade-old game. You can also perform double executions, which is exactly what it sounds like. It just gives you a whole different animation set of stuff, so you can just quickly back and forth between a couple of guys in slow motion. It genuinely makes you feel really fucking cool. Like, I can't deny that. It's cool.
So that's why you like this game? Because you could back between 2 guys?
Hey, man.
I'm using your words.
Hey, man.
Yes.
Rome invented being gay, so...
Ah.
Yeah, basically.
So that's why everybody thinks about the Roman Empire?
Yes.
Like all the time now?
Yeah.
It's just a gay thing?
Probably. I mean, what group of people do you know thinks about dicks more than like straight guys? Who's the one drawing dicks everywhere? It's straight guys.
I was gonna say a condom company.
Who runs the condom companies? Straight guys, probably. Statistically speaking, it's fairly likely.
Probably.
So the gameplay is pretty cool. It does just after playing like a level, I tended to take a break because playing for more than an hour or two in one session would get very repetitive. But it is just pretty cool. There are 4 or 5 like levels of enemies. You have your basic grunts. You have people with shields. Some people with like heavy weapons, you know, your basic combat archetypes. Nothing particularly special, but it does kind of spice up gameplay. I would say kind of similarly to the Arkham combat system. It's not as flow focused as that, but it's got a similar vibe to it.
I can see it
in terms of repetition and timing and I guess just being like a animation based thing, I guess. There's definitely some DNA in common, which is cool. The other parts of the gameplay, so maybe 20%, are going to consist of you picking an area of, you know, you're on like an embankment and you get the choice of like how to delineate troops and archers, which is cool. It doesn't do a whole lot. It has 0 story relevance, but it just gives you different gameplay experiences. So if there's some big wave of enemies coming in, the game will advise you, hey, you can put your archers over here, but that means that the soldiers on foot on the other path won't have coverage, so you should probably try to cover them or whatever. Those are all cool. Again, it doesn't do much, but it is fun. I kind of wish they did a lot more of that. The kind of RTS inspired like resource management, it would be cool. Other games have done that a billion times over, but I think that it could actually use a lot more of it here. It's just kind of too shallow to add more, I think. There's also, I don't remember what they're called, but it's effectively like a crossbow, like a turret that you can grab onto during multiple gameplay segments. Also, a lot of the times when you're trying to defend your soldiers from an oncoming wave or whatever, the aiming system is really weird, but I actually like it. So if you're using the crossbow turret or whatever the fuck it's actually called, or a spear basically, in like regular gameplay, you hold right trigger to aim, and then it'll start like auto-locking on your nearest enemy, and then if you release with the right time, it'll then throw or shoot or whatever. It's very odd. It takes a minute to get used to, but it actually works fairly well in terms of like kind of feeling like you're doing something instead of it just being a button prompt. Similar systems that I do like was, to go back to it again, like Assassin's Creed Origins, I really like the bow system. I mapped it so I could have like hold left trigger to aim and to draw, and then like pull right trigger to shoot. Like I don't know, there's a level of any level of depth in gameplay is good. Just completely auto-locking weapons is boring. You can also, in regular gameplay, pick up a spear and then smash both triggers at the same time to like yeet just at the nearest enemy, and it'll always hit, which does come in handy a lot. If you're in a very tight combat situation, or you have like a larger enemy with a shield or whatever, breaking their defense using that can be pretty helpful, or knocking their health down a good percentage. It's very entertaining to watch you just pull a spear out of your asshole and then just yoink. It gave me many chuckles. It's very silly. That kind of covers the gameplay, to be honest. The only, I think, really standout exception from that pattern is in the final level of the game, when you are confronting the Emperor and he's running away from you and you're like, I'm gonna get you. There's this very stupid, I love it, segment where you walk through a very long hallway with pillars, and behind like every pillar is an enemy. But instead of it being like your normal executions, the game has you on 0 health, and you are just doing like absolute John Wick type, like staggering around and managing to kill these guys. But it strings all of your attacks together, so it makes you feel like you're doing like one big one-take fight. It's so janky, and there's no way to fuck it up, but I still like it. You kill like 30 guys in one go. It's really fun. But other than that, the gameplay is basically those two things. It's just go here, check out this thing, blah, blah, blah. Collectibles, there are, I believe, about 10 scrolls per level, as well as 5 or so vistas, which is like the thing you find in the world is a shield, but it's basically like a painting that you can just look at because it's pretty. So it's like 15 to 20 collectibles per level. It's nothing crazy. They're not really hidden. They do get highlighted in green when you go near them, so it's just a matter of navigating the world geography, because sometimes, because it's really animation based and it's very linear, you can just get stuck on shit because like you're not supposed to be there. There's really, really basic platforming. I wouldn't even call it platforming. Like, you automatically climb things if you just hold forward on the left stick. There's no button prompt, there's nothing. You just have to be in the right spot, which can be very fucking annoying because it's so animation locked. The world, like the way that the polygons underneath the textures are made, is you have to be in precisely the right spot. It's fine. It's thematic. You know, you have your typical crawling through 2 doors so we can load up a screen type, whatever. It's fine. It serves its purpose. It does mean it's not, everything isn't completely one-dimensional and flat, which is nice. There is a multiplayer mode, which I could not access because the servers are dead. They're not offline, but they are dead because it's been 10 fucking years and this game wasn't that popular. I don't know what it entails. I would assume that it's some halfway point of like PvP, like asymmetrical. One team controls, the barbarians, one side controls the Romans, and the Romans have to play defense or something like that. I just don't know, and I didn't care enough to go look it up. I tried to get into a match and I just couldn't. There's literally nobody on them. I guess it's commendable that the servers are still up. That's cool. I always like that. There's a lot of achievements for multiplayer stuff, like 2/3 of the list, which is very frustrating. Just for my special brain. In total, there are 8 levels. Each one takes about half an hour to an hour. I played through twice. So the first one I did on soldier difficulty, which is like normal. And then my second one was going for the double whammy of completionist and also legendary difficulty because I'm dumb. And that was a grind. So the first playthrough was about 10 or so hours, including, dying and shit. And then the second playthrough, it was like 15. This is a 7 out of 10 game. I say that as a positive. This is like the 7 out of 10 game. It's got some cool features. It's surprisingly enjoyable. There were many times where I'd go, ooh, yeah, ooh. I wasn't just staring at the screen with a blank expression on my face. I'm not really itching to go back to it, but I also don't want to sell it either. I kind of want to keep it, especially because it's an Xbox One exclusive. So pretty cool. I think I bought it for like $5 at a used game store. Is
that the suggested price? What value did you get out of this?
I don't know. I always have difficulty gauging this, like, really hard, because it's so relative in terms of, like...
If you found it for $15, would you gift it to someone?
Yeah. I would... If this came out now, I would not buy this at launch, obviously. But it's definitely worth, like, the $20 rack.
There you go.
So yeah, if you can find a copy, it's definitely worth it. It's just not gonna be your, next big thing. It's not filler either, though. It has a decent level of depth to the gameplay, and it's pretty fun. Me having fun. I hate this.
Imagine.
Ugh. I did not have fun watching Borderlands, that's for fucking sure.
Yes, Borderlands was really bad.
It was really bad.
I was surprised because it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not even the worst movie I've seen this year.
But
it's still bad.
It's horrible.
I went into this movie trying to find some positive.
So was I.
Anything. Because I hadn't heard anything, and I came up with 2.
Boy.
3.
Oh, dear Lord.
I came up with 3 positives to say about this movie.
I might have, 2.
Are you proud of me?
Sure. You're always more positive than me.
The animation for Claptrap was pretty good. Pretty solid.
I guess when you surround it with how bad the animation is in the rest of the movie, yeah.
But, just, his little eye thing moving around and zooming in and out, and, the paint job was, cracked, and it looked fairly good.
Pretty good. That,
you want me to go through all my pauses? I thought we were going to bounce our pauses.
I mean, we can. I did, in fact, snicker at more than one joke.
Whoa. I only got one, and it was a... through my nose. That was it.
Yeah, I think I got, like, one, like... and that might have been because I was so tired by the end of the movie.
Exactly.
But, like... It didn't make... The comedy, while horrible, completely out of touch with what actually makes the games funny, and everything else. Like, this is the worst Redditor you know type energy. But it wasn't the most cringe-inducing thing I've ever seen in my life. Mostly it was boring in terms of jokes. A lot of them just didn't land, and I was like, well, that was lame. Well, that was lame. Instead of it being like, oh, fuck, put me out of my misery, kill me!
I think it was more like...
I thought the pee joke was funny. I'm sorry.
Which one was that? The one that's in her mouth?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know! I'm a simple man. I see banana, I get hungry. When they're like, oh yeah, oh no, it's pee. Like, okay, fine.
They didn't even say the piss word.
They didn't even, no.
They were...
It's 87% urine and 24%... Yeah, no, that was like a mild, like...
There was some pretty incredible attention to detail in, like, costuming or, like... There's one time where Lilith looks down the scope of her gun, and it's a Jacob's scope from the game. I was like, holy crap, that looks good.
There were a few things like that I was kind of impressed by. But to temper that, the vast majority of it felt really, really, really shallow. Like, I would recognize something, and I'm like, but this has nothing to do with why that thing's cool or important. It's just there.
I was gonna say
like
that
someone ran through like the Wikipedia and we're like, we'll pull out some random names of shit and like just shove them in there.
I was thinking more that any dose of quality in this movie, like costume designer or anything, wasn't unique. It was all derivative.
Yeah.
It was an exact one-for-one copy from a game.
Yeah, which I get why you'd want to, but it also feels violently uninspired because of that. Like, they don't... I don't usually like this sort of complaint, but it felt like cosplay.
Kinda.
Because everything is mostly clean and very shiny, and, like, this bothered me. Like, the way they handle guns is horrible. Not just because, like, oh, they don't know how to use guns, but, like, the actors were not comfortable with the things they were using, so they were just like... There was a couple of sequences where I could tell Cate Blanchett was just like... Wee, 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 wee.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like, I feel bad for the actors having, like, really crappy direction and, like, no seemingly, like, familiarity with the stuff they're using. It felt very, like, alien.
But there was also, like, an attempt to have Lilith, like, swinging the guns around, and I'm assuming... It's because in the game she can reload the guns by swinging them around because it's cool. Yeah, there was they never explained that. As far as
it was just flair. But and that was the.
So it's like having played the games, I'm like, oh, that makes sense because she has this power, but it's never explained.
Yeah, no. I think the thing that bugs me the most is not like I wanted this movie to be cel shaded, but the style doesn't work without the cel shading. Like if you're going to make it basically one for one. You have to have, like, this is when adaptation should actually be relevant. Like, you do need to change the textures of things, find a different material that works better, because without the pretty good choice of cel shading to cover up some pretty boring-ass models quite frequently, like, it just looks like a costume party, and not in a good way. It's just like, oh, look at all these boring orange armor and wigs. It gives me the ick. It gives me that, like, I don't know. It's very hard to put a finger on. It's just like that's when you need to use your skills as a filmmaker or as, you know, whoever, you know, costume designer or whatever. It's like that's when you use your noggin and go, okay, well, what would this texture be like? And then when you're like, you're shooting it on, I would assume digital because everything's shot on digital now, but like you're on location or you're on a set or whatever. The light's gonna be different than ambient lighting in a game. Like that just bugs me because the game is like that's part of the charm of the art style is how the cel shading feeds into the art style. It's not just we kind of threw it on top. It kind of makes the style work.
I guess kind of related to what you were just talking about. The cars seem to have been completely animated. There didn't seem to be a real car at all.
No, it was really bad.
And yeah, as they're driving around, there'd be weird bumps that they drive over. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, I didn't realize the car was fake until it was driving around and it looked awful.
Yeah, there was pretty much every sequence with a vehicle. I just some psychic damage was happening. Like there's like a Lilith drives by and it's like the frame of the car is covering half her face, and I'm like, oh look, it's just a PNG of Cate Blanchett underneath a digital car. Like and yeah, like the speeder bikes look horrible. It looks like they just sat on a bunch of like green boxes.
Yeah,
and that's crap. I get like the logistics of some of those vehicles would be hard to pull off.
Yeah,
it's an over-the-top game for a reason, but like at least try.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna do my thing. Hey, they've made the BVS Batmobile. It's a real thing. It's not a real tank, but they did make an actual car that moves like that.
The budget for that movie was a little different.
This movie cost $110 million. I
thought it was 140.
It might... Okay, give it even more credit.
Okay.
This is still like what a blockbuster should be budget-wise, and this still looks like shit.
I figured BVS would be double that.
I think BVS was about double that. Yeah. But like, you get my point, come on. Come on. This movie does not feel like $110 million. This feels like Marvel $250 million right now, in terms of CG quality. Like, this feels like 50 at most. This looked like shit.
Alright, I have to go...
What's your next positive?
Another complaint to get to my positive.
Okay.
The casting.
Oh, it's so bad! Oh, dear God.
On paper, I liked Jamie Lee Curtis as Tannis. It could have worked, but I think she was so poorly directed. Obviously, she hasn't played a Borderlands game. She doesn't know the character she's playing. I think it was straight out offensive to, like, autistic, suffering people.
I am suffering.
She was just told be an autistic person, and she did, but that's not Tannis's character at all.
It was really bad.
It wasn't even autism as a superpower trope.
No, at least
it could have at least been.
Yeah, at least that is like, this is so retarded, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Ben Affleck and The Accountant.
Bad.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart as...
Roland
is supposed to be a parody character. He's supposed to be poking fun at like the Modern Warfare realistic shooters and saying like all the tropes in like a parody way to point out how fucking stupid it sounds. And you have a short guy play that role. It doesn't work. Most of the time he sounds like a dad yelling at his kids to just get in the car. It's awful.
To be fair,
he's just playing Kevin Hart.
So that was that
train. Real quick. Roland would have been better if it had at least been played by The Rock, because then he has the physical size. It's still a bad choice, but still.
Yeah.
At least it's closer.
So Kevin Hart was the one that I was the most, oh crap, I'm gonna hate this movie, aren't I? I have a kind of a hate boner for Kevin Hart.
A lot of people do, I've been finding out.
Yeah, he's not a big fan. Out of all of the castings that I thought were gonna be bad, he was the least insufferable.
Wow.
Because I don't know if it was just because he wasn't doing Kevin Hart jokes. Like, there were no jokes about him being short or angry or whatever. Like, none. He's just there.
I've never actually seen his shtick,
I
but
have.
It still kind of felt like his shtick. Like when he's driving the car, he's like, just get in the damn car. It's like...
There's a level of it for sure. He's not a good actor, so, for sure. It's just like, from what I was expecting, it was a lot... Not subdued, but it was way less over the top than I was expecting. Like, out of the main cast of characters, he's the most normal, which isn't a good thing, but it's not a bad thing. I will double you with another positive, actually. While Cate Blanchett is a horrible decision in terms of the character, she is the only person that's entertaining to watch in this fucking movie.
I found her to be 50-50. So,
she clearly did not give a shit.
Yeah, most of the time, she's just as fucking bored as we are watching it. But there's also, like, an attempt, some of the time, most of the time, of, like, trying to play what's poorly written and directed.
Yeah, like, the character does not resemble the one in the game at all. Like,
no.
You can make a character older and have it be relevant, but it's just not relevant. They make, like, 2 old lady jokes, and that's it. And it's like, well, why? Then why did you do it if you're not going to make anything interesting with it other than, like, she's vaguely maternal to Tina? and in the beginning of the game someone calls her like an old bitch, and like that's it, and she's like, I'm too old for this shit. Then why the fuck are you flipping all over the place? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, you could either make it like she's old and it's a trope, or just cast a younger person.
I want to say I like Krieg, but he wasn't given enough to have a character.
The ADR is so bad for him. It's really shit.
A couple of times that he yells some of the dumb, stupid psycho lines, but I don't know. He didn't get enough. He looked the part, and sometimes he sounded the part.
He looked
just
fine,
didn't
but
have enough.
that was not good. I don't remember the actor's name, but the one who plays Tina, while I think she's a little too old for what the character was written to be, I just like the actor. She's been getting pretty popular recently.
She felt like a 20-something trying to play an 8-year-old, and it didn't work.
No.
Like, she was clearly trying. She was working really hard.
Yeah, I think she's 17 right now, so she played the younger version of Ahsoka in the TV show. Yep. She is just, like, actually really short. She was in Barbie, and those were, like, her two most recent, like, going up there. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's still like a child, but like Tina acts like a baby, and like you can make her older, but just they don't try.
No.
You know,
I also didn't find a lot of her antics to be funny like they do in the game. Like,
it wasn't funny. It just wasn't like
bad copy.
I expected to be cringing out of my gourd, and it was just like, ugh.
Right.
Man.
It was interesting to have Moxie as like the old whorehouse matron. Like,
what?
I chalk this one up to an interpretation. I'm okay with it, but I've always seen her as like a younger character that's like always flirting with you, but you can never touch. Like, so it was interesting to have her as like the old used up whore of the whorehouse instead of the younger one. I don't know. It was kind of weird, but she was fine. That
actually, that's a point that I had this is a really sexless movie, despite the fact that it's really horny.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put my finger on it, but like frankly, the amount of like push-up bras and like boob makeup is absurd, which is fine because the games are like that. Yep. I'm into it. They're making some very attractive people even more attractive. I'm not complaining. You know, Cate Blanchett is Galadriel. Holy fuck, kill me, step on me. You know the deal. But like, this was apparently they shot some stuff that was like a bit more intense and had more blood or whatever, and like they could have done an R-rated one, but like this feels like it's barely PG-13. This is so fucking tame. Not just because they don't scream, they don't like curse that much, but like,
I thought that was like the hardest part.
Yeah, they say like son of a bitch a few times.
The language was pretty rough, but there's like no blood at all.
It doesn't just feel like it was cut down. It just feels like it's out of touch with what like the games are trying to do. But like, why would you continue to then be like, and we're going to put you in 18 padded push-up bras, and we're going to do the contours on your boobs to make them look bigger, but also we're going to cast a bunch of women in their 50s. I don't understand that. Like, as a point, it doesn't. The two ideas don't mesh in my brain because it feels like going through the motions of being like, yeah, the games have chicks with big boobs, but like not making it actually part of the DNA of the movie or anything.
The opening gag of like every single game's main menu is to have like a skag walking down the road and then just all of a sudden be turned into mist as a car goes screaming by. Like, it's usually very funny violence, and there's none of that in this movie.
No.
So all of that casting discussion to get to my last positive note. The guy that played Marcus crushed it. I really liked his performance. The guy that drives the bus and sells the weapons.
Oh.
He did.
I think he was the only one who was self-aware of how bad the movie was.
Yeah.
I guess. And that fell in.
His voice sounded very similar, and he's having, or seemingly having,
it might just
a ball.
be the voice actor.
He could have been.
Yeah.
But he looked the part, he sounded the part, and he was, like, having fun in the role.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, despite the fact that I didn't really find it entertaining, it was the only one that was like, this just isn't for me. It didn't feel like shit. It was just like, this just doesn't hit me.
What?
The Marcus, the character. Like, any of that stuff. Like, I wasn't like laughing or being like, dang, look at this guy. But I was more like, this is for somebody.
He's a goober.
Yeah, you know, out of the rest of it, it was the only part of the humor, I guess, on the whole, that like kind of felt like they were trying something, even if it just isn't my deal. I mean, I criticize the Borderlands games for not being as funny as they think they are. So like, I'm not, I am throwing rocks from a glass house, but this has no clue what actually makes Borderlands cool, fun, or interesting.
I think there were 3 action sequences where I literally threw my hands up in the air. I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense.
They're really bad.
It was awful. Like
the choreography, there's one... They attempt to do a oneer in the like sewer hallway thingy with the psychos. That was like fine. Yeah. But the rest of it is choppy fucking shit.
And doesn't even make sense.
No, the physics don't...
There's characters in other rooms, and then all of a sudden they're in behind the locked door that all the bad guys were at. It's like, what?
No, not a big fan. Actually, on the note of the psychos, one of the things that I don't really like about the games that much is the psychos are a pile of mixed bag. But the fact that they're like, look, these are the extra crazy psychos. You haven't shown how crazy actual psychos are, so that doesn't fucking mean anything, because the only sequence that has the psychos, other than Krieg, is in a montage that they clearly did not intend to be a montage, but it was picked to be a montage in the editing bay. Yep. When Lilith has to do her cringe-ass voiceover and was clearly as bored as Harrison Ford was doing the voiceover for the theatrical cut of Blade Runner. Like, why does it matter that they're the extra crazy ones? 1, no, they're not. 2, like... You haven't... What the fuck are the psychos other than they're crazy and they murder people? What? Okay, elaborate on that.
No world building.
The world building is so fucking bad. Like, the thing that I like the most about Borderlands isn't the humor or the gameplay even. I like the fucking commentary. I think it has really good politics, unironically.
Wow.
I know, me liking politics. But I think the games are actually pretty coherent about that. They're very good at satirizing things in a way that is very obvious, but also not, like, annoying. And the way that everything is set up in this movie makes no damn sense in terms of like factions and power and economy. None of it makes any fucking sense. Like, it vaguely resembles, if you squint really hard, something that you could have seen in a game, but it doesn't. It's the Borderlands universe is like a hyper ANCAP like. It's Bioshock. It's what if all of the world was Bioshock and then like it goes to shit because that's not a sustainable way to live life. And like there are no governmental agencies, it's just a bunch of companies that run shit. And they don't convey that like at all. They basically just act like the companies are the government, but not in like an intelligent like they basically are the government. They just run away from the feds the whole movie, and it's like, what is this shit? It just, that really bugged me. Like, I expected it to be dumbed down, but there's no thought put into it at all.
The guy that played Atlas was boring.
He was really fucking boring.
Felt like a guy they pulled in off the street.
I've seen him in some other stuff, but I don't remember what. Yeah, he felt really... No Ryse, man. No Ryse. Atlas in the games is at least interesting to listen to. This fucker was not. No direction. And I am gonna... The third act went completely off the fucking rails. Just big CGI bird fire Captain Marvel. What the fuck are we doing? By that time, I had completely checked out. I was just like, what the oh no, we're gonna double twist, and then it just turns into Black Adam ending.
Roland slides down a rope from nowhere. It shoots the bad guy. The bad guy's like, that didn't hurt me, stupid. And they went, oh.
Yeah, no.
It was literally like that.
The finale genuinely tanked any little type of kind of enjoyment I was having. At least I was like, yeah, whatever, this is fine. And then basically everything turned to 3D renders, and I was like, oh, great. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, there was about 5 minutes in the opening where I was like, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. There it goes.
Yep.
But I missed the opening like minute or two. I walked in when Kate was at the bar saying I'm too old for this shit. Did I miss anything?
Not really. It was just...
How long did I miss?
2 minutes.
Dang.
No. That was like the only scene where I was like, maybe there's something in here. And then as soon as Atlas started talking, I went, oh, fuck, no, never mind.
Yep.
No. And then they even try to do the found family trope by the end. I'm like, what are you smoking? Who cares?
Even the Atlas device that someone puts on so that Atlas can speak doesn't make sense, because sometimes the body does like surprising actions, and then sometimes the body is like thinking for itself.
In the same scene, it's like the he's like, hey, I need you to go over here, and then like 3 seconds later, he's just clearly editing room, what are you doing?
Yes.
You just shot a bunch of shit and just like threw it in a blender and hoped that worked, because like another very dumb, I don't really care, but it is a good example. When they open up the hatch to go into the sewers, there's clearly a crew member pulling the hatch from the back, and it's just in the movie. Normally, like, when Star Wars has that, it's endearing, but like, double standard, I don't care. It really does show how shit this is. Like, this is a $110 million movie. Everything is CG.
I think it's 140.
Whatever. It's disgustingly expensive. It's bombing for good reason. It has no heart or soul to it. Nobody, I don't think anybody in this production gave a fucking shit about it. And I like Eli Roth as a director. I don't love him.
No, I agree.
But like, his hyperviolence could work for this, and they don't let him do it!
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. The guy that did Cabin Fever can do some pretty freaking messed up, gross stuff in this Borderlands movie. This is gonna be cool.
Triple the budget of Thanksgiving, and I'm pretty sure that's his highest budgeted movie. I don't know how to make a movie, so I'm not gonna like armchair direct, but like, some people don't know what to do when they're given a big budget. Like, it's just true. Like, you have too many moving parts. You're just not used to it yet. Like, yeah, skill issue, but like, it's not even like disrespect. It's just like, you're just not prepared for that, and you don't have people around you to make it work, because clearly nobody gave a shit about this. They realized that during the marketing campaign, because as soon as the teaser trailer came out, they stopped marketing it until release day.
Yep.
The review embargo dropped the morning of. Like, ugh.
I gave this 1 out of 5 stars.
Same.
It lands above Monster Hunter and Rampage, but it's under Welcome to Raccoon City.
It is above Welcome to Raccoon City and below Monster Hunter for me.
I at least have fun with Raccoon City. I just point and laugh at
I do have some fun with Monster Hunter. It's still a boring movie, but like, I had a little bit of fun with that. There's like one sequence that makes me go, "Ugh, that's gross." This was it's above Rampage, because that is genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yep. In terms of like a high budget, like proper movie-sized movie. It is officially the worst movie I've seen this year. Oh, look at you go. Because Melancholia beat it out by half star. But to be fair, I didn't finish Melancholia, so I'm gonna say it's a tie. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think 1 out of 5 for this year. I think it's only above. It's above Megamind 2, which was horrible. Hey man, I love Megamind. You can't fuck me over like that. It's disgusting. I haven't seen them. And above, I watched Cruella's Revenge, which was horrendously bad. It's one of those $5 horror public domain movies. Horribly bad, but I actually did have fun with that. But that was like the worst movie I've seen in a long time. Wow. So yeah, this isn't like my bottom 3 for the year. I think I've watched like 65 movies. It's not good. This is bad. Even for a video game movie, this is pretty bad. It's just, holy fuck, man. Silent Hill Revelation was at least fun bad. This was just dog shit. Yeah. I only had 2 drinks. I needed way more. I had none. I don't want to hear your whining. I should have gone in with like multiple handles. Just gone off the chain. Fucking hell. Moving on to some positive things. Ooh, good news. From GamePress.com, Crafton Incorporated welcomed the talented people of Tango Gameworks to their team, making sure that the good game company that Xbox fired is actually going to keep making games. Damn, son. It's a shame they got bought up by Crafton, because Crafton so far sucks, but I don't know them. They made Callisto Protocol, and that's it. I'm glad they all got jobs, though. That's kind of... At least they have money. True. Because that game had money. That game had a lot of money. Marking an exciting moment in the company's global expansion and its first significant investment in the Japanese video game market, the strategic move will include the rights to Tango Gameworks' acclaimed IP Hi-Fi Rush. Founded in 2010, Tango Gameworks quickly established itself as a leading development studio renowned for creating the critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush that I already talked about, along with the survival horror titles The Evil Within 1 and 2, and the action-adventure game Ghostwire: Tokyo. The studio became part of Xbox when ZeniMax was acquired by Xbox in 2021. Hi-Fi Rush
Flagship title for Tango Gameworks is a rhythm action blah 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 blah. As part of the strategic agreement, Krafton intends to collaborate with Xbox and ZeniMax to ensure a smooth transition and maintain continuity at Tango Gameworks, allowing the talented team to continue developing the Hi-Fi Rush IP and explore future projects. Krafton intends to support the Tango Gameworks team to continue its commitment to innovation and delivering fresh and exciting experience for fans. There will be no impact on the existing game catalog of the Evil Within, the Evil Within 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the original Hi-Fi Rush game. That's nice.
Yo, Hi-Fi Rush 2 when? I'm glad they bought the rights for the series too. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
Wicked cool. It's a good positive follow-up to last month's negative news of them getting closed.
I've tried Evil Within like 3 or 4 times, and I just can't. I don't like it. They give it. It's 4:3 ratio, like brainworm turned up to a lot. It sucks.
It's on my to-do list.
But I've heard good things about Evil Within 2. I haven't played that yet, and I haven't played Ghostwire Tokyo.
That's also on my to-do list. I will play every game ever. From PCGamer.com. The skies are gray above our hobby today as one of Game's oldest institutions, Game Informer, is closing its doors.
Is it really gray out? We saw this coming a mile away.
I mean, yeah, it's still sad. Shut up. Let me be sad about it.
Is it?
Game Informer was a good fucking magazine. Come on. It's been around for 33 years. That's a long fucking time.
It was a lot like the Lego magazine. It was just an ad that, had some extra words in it.
It was still fucking lit, though. I love the Lego magazine. Game Informer is closing its doors. This morning, GameStop abruptly pulled the plug on the Game Informer magazine and website, laying off its entire staff as it was about 70% done with the next issue, according to content creator Kyle Hilliard. The sudden closure comes after a turbulent period for the Minneapolis-based magazine. Facing pressure from struggling owner GameStop, that's an understatement, Game Informer has already gone through multiple rounds of layoffs since 2018, reducing the outlet size. In March 2024, Game Informer launched a new subscription detached from GameStop's rewards program for $19.91, a weird amount, a year.
They reached out to everybody and said, hey, remember when you used to get this with your GameStop membership? You can get it again.
Yeah.
And everybody said, fuck you, I should still be getting it.
I'm pretty sure a couple of years ago they also stopped, when it was still with the GameStop membership, they stopped giving the paper copies.
I think you had to pay an extra $5 for the year to get paper, which I did, and then it suddenly went away, and then they asked for more money. I'm not salty at all.
Hey, I still have a few of these bumping around. It's just one of those things, It's like, oh, Redbox closed. Would I use it? No. I'm still kind of sad about it.
I'm more upset about Redbox than GameStop. Show me. From Kotaku. Activision has heard the howls of pain every time someone tries to download a new Call of Duty game, and the publisher is finally doing something about it. Players won't have to install Warzone alongside Call of Duty: Black Ops 6 when it launches this October, drastically reducing the game's size on PS5 and other platforms from launcher Call of Duty HQ's current footprint of roughly 175 gigabytes.
Big boy.
As we look ahead to Call of Duty: Black Ops 6, we've been working on ways to improve the Call of Duty experience by optimizing menu navigation, bullshit, and offering smaller and more customized downloads, plus other benefits for your Call of Duty library. Activision announced in a blog post today, ahead of Warzone's upcoming Season 5, blah blah blah. We've heard your feedback, and along with our own testing and learnings, have worked to optimize the way players access and download Call of Duty. This begins by revamping the experience formerly known as Call of Duty HQ. The publisher is promising a more streamlined experience, direct access to games, more control over what gets downloaded, and further reduced file sizes overall.
They finally discovered how to zip a file!
I was going to say, someone found the compress button. Call of Duty HQ, the popular military shooter's current one-size-fits-all launcher, requires players to download tons of stuff they don't want to access a new campaign or multiplayer mode and then delete the rest later. The new approach will require a big download initially, starting August 21st as Activision reorganizes the Call of Duty HQ content ahead of Black Ops 6 beta later this month on August 30th, but will eventually result in players being able to install exactly what they want without eating up half, at least, of their PS5 or Xbox Series XS's storage. The biggest change is that Call of Duty Warzone, the free-to-play Battle Royale mode, will exist as a completely separate download, like it fucking should have been when it first released from Modern Warfare 3 and later when it launches Black Ops 6.
Yay!
That's nice.
They finally found the fucking button. Oh, I love the incompetence of such large studios. It's very entertaining.
When you have money, you care less.
It's true. It will be nice, though. I might actually play Warzone now that it's its own separate file. So, you know, maybe. Probably not, but maybe. From Polygon.com. Another sad day. Microsoft has officially shut off access to the Xbox 360 marketplace. Gamers now mourn the loss of the iconic console storefront and the hundreds of games that are no longer accessible due to the closure, as the Video Game History Foundation posted on Twitter. I will continue to dead name Twitter, fuck you. The Xbox 360 went on sale November 22nd, 2005. Holy fuck. And ushered in a new generation of multiplayer gaming. The 360 marketplace made it just shy of its 20th anniversary. The PlayStation 3 store remains the final frontier of this console generation's online services, as Nintendo took its Wii Shop offline in 2019. Sony Interactive Entertainment tried to close it on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, but reversed the decision after player outcry. Like PlayStation players will play old shit. Shut up. Microsoft ran huge sales on Xbox 360 Marketplace games in the lead-up to the store closure, a last hurrah for buying digital 360 games. Microsoft has added a ton of games to its backwards compatibility service, making many games available to play on its newer consoles, the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. But there are plenty of games that had digital-only releases that aren't compatible with newer consoles, and that creates a big legal problem for accessing those games. Piracy. Games that were purchased before the storefront closure will still be accessible to people who own, or rather license them. RIP. I really miss the 360, man. Like, I like what we have now because it does actually work. But the 360 had charm. That shit had Ryse.
Okay.
I did in fact buy a bunch of shit. Because it was like 85% off, man. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So, I stocked up. It is still kind of a shame that, like, there is going to be a lot of lost media off of that, just because, like, yeah, they're not... Most of those aren't very important or cool or whatever, but, like, it's still like 5 generations from now, they're just poof.
Yep.
That kind of sucks.
This one's from Kotaku.
Ooh, you linked this to me. Bitch!
John Carpenter's horror classic Halloween practically invented the slasher film genre when it released in 1978. That is an opinion.
It said practically invented. The better way to phrase it would be highly refined. I would say refined, but sure.
And now, the master of horror is returning to the franchise once more with the announcement of 2 new video games based on Carpenter's Halloween series. The original Halloween was released nearly 45 years ago and is still one of the most popular and influential horror movies ever released, but weirdly, while its central killer, the Shape aka Michael Myers, has appeared in numerous video games like Fortnite and Dead by Daylight, the franchise has not had a video game adaptation in a long time. In fact, 1983's Halloween on the Atari 2600 was the first and last official game based on the slasher series ever released. Now, decades later, not 1 but 2 new Halloween video game projects have been announced. As first reported by IGN on August 12th, Boss Team Games is developing 2 separate video games based on the original 1978 Halloween film. We don't know much about what these games are or how they will play, but both projects are being developed with input from the film franchise's producers. One of the games is being developed in Unreal Engine 5 and will include direct input from Carpenter himself. As a huge gamer myself, I'm thrilled to help bring Michael Myers to life again in this game, said Carpenter in a press release. My hope is to scare you silly. Reportedly, the director will be, quote, intimately involved, end quote, with the developers working on the game. That's nice.
I love the fact that John Carpenter's a gamer. I've known this for ages.
Yep.
But he's like 85, and he's still like playing new games and talking about it like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he's openly said, like, I would totally make, like, a Dead Space movie if I could, like, I don't know. It's really endearing old man shit. Yeah. It's just like, aw, look at him be cognizant
be
and,
a
like,
normal human.
Yeah, like,
oh my gosh.
Like, continue to function. It's pretty impressive. It is so weird that there haven't been, like, any other attempts at this. It makes sense that it's in Dead by Daylight, like, especially because Dead by Daylight has kind of turned into Fortnite. Respectfully, it's kind of turned into Fortnite in, like, it's mostly IP based now type thing. But
I saw the latest one. I forget what it is now, but I was like, really, dude? You're reaching now.
Oh, they're definitely reaching, but, like, it's got a pretty darn big player base. It's got a very consistent player base too. Like, it's been around for like 5 years, so, like, it is just kind of weird that this has never been a thing. So, Unreal Engine 5, I'm prepared to piss my pants. Unreal Engine 5 is too shiny.
I remember footage, I think from the Super Nintendo, of a Friday the 13th game, but I don't remember what a Halloween game looks like. I'm gonna have to do research on this.
It was on the Atari 2600. I'm sure it looked like shit.
Yeah.
From Kotaku.com, we are so happy to be able to officially confirm that our next game is actively in production and is actively in production, and that it is a first-person action RPG. Wolf Eye boss and Arcane founder Raphael Colantonio said in a press release. Fan of the past games I have been involved with, such as Dishonored and Prey, will feel at home, as well as fans of RPGs in general. The game is still looking for a publisher, but is already wrapping up pre-production and currently taking signups for a limited private alpha test in early 2025. Executive producer Julian Robbie told Eurogamer in an interview that the broad aim is for something along the lines of Fallout meets Dishonored, which could mean a ton of things, but sounds like magic words for longtime fans of arcane-style games. One of the pieces of concept art shared sure seemed like a cross between a steampunk contraption and atomic age robot. Arcane Lion, meanwhile, is currently working on Marvel's Blade, an action game starring the comic book vampire hunter Eric Brooks. Microsoft's recent decision to shut down its sister studio, Arcane Austin, fuck Texas, has left a big hole in the immersive sim genre. It made the moody 2017 sci-fi stealth game Prey, which I reviewed on this show. You should go check it out. It's a great game. Which didn't get the love it deserved at the time. That's an opinion, but a correct opinion. No one can replace that studio, but it's a minor consolation prize that Wolf Eye is in a position to build on some of that work and usher in its next evolution. According to Eurogamer, the studio is still about 50 to 60 people and not looking to grow much beyond that. Holy crap. So whatever the currently unnamed project ends up as, it won't be some AAA blockbuster open world game. Hopefully it's something much more expressive and unique instead. We love Legacy getting passed on to new studios. Oof. You get the oof.
It's weird that they don't even, have a name for the game in the article.
I get it, but, it is weird, but also, I can't, you're focused on the game. I don't know. The title's just marketing.
As really. I was listening to you, I was like, what game are we talking about? Yeah, what is this? I don't know.
Dishonored plus Fallout equals Spencer will buy it.
From PCGamer.com. In yet another bloodbath during a terrible 2 years for the game industry, Bungie has announced that it's laying off 220 more people, roughly 17% of its workforce, across every level of the company, including most of our executive and senior leader roles. In a blog post titled The New Path for Bungie CEO Pete Parsons announced that due to rising costs of development and industry shifts as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure. And shift the studio's development focus entirely over to Destiny and upcoming extraction shooter Marathon. The new round of layoffs comes less than a year after Bungie's last bloodletting in October 2023, the casualties of which included veteran Halo composer Michael Salvatore. Bungie is pitching the whole thing as a bloody but necessary pivot for the company, a necessary decision to refocus our studio, that was a quote, after it spread itself too thin. Per Parsons, Bungie's goal for over half a decade has been, quote, to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises, end quote. To that end, the studio, quote, set up several incubation projects, which each seeded with senior development leaders from out-existing teams, end quote, but came to realize, quote, that this model stretched our talent too thin too quickly, end quote, and overburdened studio support structures already preoccupied with Destiny and Marathon. It's shocking news in the wake of Destiny 2's final shape, an expansion that was, by all accounts, an example of the studio firing on all cylinders. Oh, they were firing, all right. It's also despair-inducingly familiar news. The games industry feels more unstable and febrile? What is that? Febrile?
I actually don't know. I've never seen this word before.
Wow.
I love becoming smart.
More unstable than ever, and even historically successful studios don't seem to be able to escape the swath of layoffs that have decimated it over the last 2 years. Developers are increasingly living their lives at the point of the knife, and it seems unlikely it'll stop here.
And I have the follow-up. From Kotaku.com. Sony purchased Bungie, the original studio behind Halo and the maker of Destiny 2, for a whopping $3.6 billion in 2022, following this...
And Destiny 1.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. Following the sale, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons purchased over 20 classic cars in online auctions costing millions of dollars, according to his account on the website Bring a Trailer. He continued buying them even after mass layoffs at the studio. Parsons, who has been an executive of Bungie for over 2 decades, has faced lots of public criticism over the last year of Bungie's struggles around the evolution of Destiny 2 and leadership decisions that led to 100 staff to be laid off last October. A tweet from the CEO thanking those who A tweet from the CEO thanking those cut for their contribution to the company was accused of being tone deaf at the time. That is an understatement. The longtime boss faced calls to resign even today, even temporarily locking his account on Twitter after announcing that the previous article of 220 employees being laid off. Over 100 other would transition to Sony Interactive Entertainment, and a smaller team would be spun off into a separate PlayStation studio in a deepening integration that read to some like a final Sony takeover of the once internally independent publisher. Bungie lays off 17% of its workforce. Unrelated, here is a list of cars the CEO has purchased on BAT, tweeted Valorant Player Association Program Manager Tailored Brumal. The post linked an account page that appears to belong to Parsons called BNGP Parsons. The page lists over a dozen classic cars and motorcycles that the Bungie executive seemingly won in auctions between September 2022 and June 2024. It's unclear if the millions spent on the collections came from the Sony buyout or Parsons' lifelong work at Bungie, and the amount would have likely been a drop in the bucket compared to the massive cuts being asked of the studio as a whole. But so far there doesn't seem to be any evidence that senior Bungie leadership has taken salary cuts or pursued other cost-saving measures in solidarity with laid-off staff or those still employed who may struggle to make ends meet. IGN reported last fall that when a Bungie department head was asked if Parsons or others were taking pay cuts amid the company's current crisis, they said it's not that type of company. When Sony originally purchased Bungie, some employees were optimistic. Despite no longer being independent, they told the Washington Post launcher that their equity in the studio would be double vesting, even if 50% of the payday would be coming years down the road. They also said that they were told the acquisition would result in absolutely no layoffs and that nothing major in terms of restructuring would happen as a result of the deal. 2 years later, Parsons has 20 more cars and over a quarter of the company has been laid off. Okay, before any of the details, I fucking love the writer of this article. Yes, it is editorialized. I don't fucking care. This is your job as a journalist, is to call out shit from people in power. So, genuinely massive respect. I fucking loved reading this article. For one, obviously the contents are extremely disheartening and disgusting, but the aggression, man, holy fuck. Let's fucking go. But also, yeah, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, money. People can have money, no shit. But genuine, you as the head of the studio,
can't possibly.
Oh, it's a drop.
Take less of a paycheck.
Yeah, no, it's
to keep your company alive.
No, it's a drop in the bucket, and that may be so. But on the principle of maybe not fucking over the people who make the least amount of money in your company, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be getting paid millions of dollars a year if your company is currently floundering and you're laying off a large chunk of your base, especially after you just got a massive cash infusion from Sony. What the fuck? So just general shit, but I had to include that because I love the person who originally tweeted it. It just, the sheer spite was great. And I did verify it is a real thing. I did double check. And it's just yeah, that's nice. That is a very good indication of the sort of people that end up at the heads of these companies.
Yep.
My rant is over now.
From Kotaku.com. I don't know where this is going and I'm scared. The high school zombie hack and slash revival is almost upon us. The Lollipop Chainsaw remaster, called Repop, is coming out earlier than expected with a price tag that has some fans scratching their head. The ham-fisted action game about a cheerleader who slices through hordes of undead was originally set to come out on PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC on September 26th, but today, Dragami Games announced the remaster of the 2012 cult horror game will arrive early in digital form on September 12th. Even at $40, however, the price strikes some as a little bit high considering Repop is a remaster rather than a remake, and that it's seemingly missing the original's licensed soundtrack, which included Skrillex, Dragon Force, Sleigh Bells, and many others. Another Grasshopper manufacturer game, Shadows of the Damned, came out a year before Lollipop Chainsaw, and its recent remaster is only $25. The Lollipop Chainsaw remaster was originally going to be a full-blown remake, but the company behind it said it was walking that back at the request of fans. While the original game was co-written by James Gunn and co-directed by Suda51, neither are involved in the remaster at all, leaving some fans worried about how faithful it will be to the feel and spirit of the 2012 version. I remember when this came out and how very sexualized the little girl was in the commercials. And I also remember that it had a collector's edition with a chainsaw that you could play the game with.
That's great. I don't remember that.
I'm pretty confident it was that game.
I'm not doubting it. Sounds like crap, to be honest. I like Lollipop Chainsaw. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I found it.
It's ridiculous. It is in bad taste, admittedly, but like it was pretty. Jeez, girl. Pretty, unironically, like Chainsaw Man-esque of like, we're gonna do the thing and criticize the thing at the same time, which like doesn't land for everybody, but like it was a pretty fun game in general, and fans don't want a remake. Okay, shut up. Like, who the fuck wants a port with higher textures over like a Ground 1 remake? Come on. Who the fuck was whining about this? That's very stupid. And also, yeah, losing the licensed music is kind of a big blow. Like, it was quintessential, like, 2010 pop garbage. I mean this respectfully. I'm a big Skrillex fan. Like, you can't just take that out of it. It's so stupid. Just cancel it.
I think that's a GameCube controller.
No way.
Because the buttons look weird. The X and Y button is from the GameCube shape.
There's no way.
I have to find out now.
That doesn't make sense. It was released way after the GameCube. From Eurogamer.net, Amazon has reportedly commissioned a new animated anthology series for its Prime Video streaming service that'll feature new stories set across a variety of existing video game worlds, including Spelunky, which is a great game, and Amazon's own New World. That's according to Hollywood News publication Deadline, whose sources say the series, which is reportedly titled Secret Level, is being developed by Tim Miller and his Blur Studio, the creative team behind Netflix's animated sci-fi show Love, Death, and Robots. In fact, it sounds like Amazon's new project will follow a similar template to Netflix's anthology series, in a similar fashion to Love, Death, and Robots, whose standalone episodes are largely adaptations of existing short stories. Secret Level will reportedly feature original short stories set within the worlds of existing video games. I think this is a really good fucking idea. One, make it animated. Always make it animated. Like 9 times out of 10, make a video game thing animated, it's gonna be better. And 2, just make it in the existing world and just make it a little whoop. Oh wow, look, it's 1 hour of Spelunky. I don't know, I think that's great. Like, this actually sounds like a good fucking idea.
Spelunky's great.
Spelunky is great. I hate that type of game. I'm so bad at them, but it is a
hard.
Really good game.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, yeah, Love, Death, and Robots. Did every episode work? No. But, like...
I still like
it's got a lot of variety.
Yep.
A lot of artistry goes into that. This is... why is this not the template for, like, all video game adaptations? I'm sorry. Just make it an animated anthology thing. Fuck it. Like, come on. Yes.
Did it say when?
No.
Oh.
Technically, it's not even titled yet, so...
Wow.
Maybe late next year, if we're lucky. That is the end of the news. Now tell me about something good, please. Make my month better.
Next month, I'm gonna be... I'm kidding.
Yeah, there's no way your opinion changed that much.
Resident Evil 8 was released on May 7th of 2021 on the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Series, and on PC. A Mac and Switch version was released in October of 2022. I shit this review out Friday night and did not proofread it, so here we go.
I love typos.
I didn't have a drink until after I typed it, so it should be okay.
We'll see.
Story opens up with Mia Winters, the waifu that we saved in Resident Evil 7, reading a scary kid's book to her daughter. Plot twist, that story is foreshadowing the events of the game. Shh. Once the kid is asleep, Ethan puts her down to bed. When he rejoins his wife, Chris Redfield breaks the door down and shoots Mia dead.
Chris!
No. He says some cryptic things, takes the kid, Ethan, and dead Mia on a road trip that is rudely interrupted by something off-screen. When Ethan comes to, he walks through the woods into a nearby village. After walking through the village a little bit, raiding some drawers and whatever, helping the villagers free up some of the junk inside their houses, some lichens attack. This leads Ethan to a small group of survivors who don't survive very long before he is captured by the Addams family. Here he sees a woman, called Mother Miranda, as well as a scraggly guy with sunglasses, a gross rotten hunchback thing, a demonic talking doll, and a giant pale woman with a great big hat. Shush.
Yeah. No.
The creatures fight over who will take Ethan to play with. Mother Miranda decides that the guy with the glasses gets Ethan. Ethan quickly escapes, digs around the village a little bit more because he didn't find all of the gunpowders and bullets and stuff, and then breaks into the tall castle that casts its shadow on the village. This is the home of the tall, pale woman in the white dress and great big hat. It turns out that she and her 3 daughters are vampires, at least mostly. They chase him all through the castle, and Ethan manages to kill all 3 of the daughters. He eventually unlocks the front door, only to be met with a boss fight with Lady Dimitrescu. Really quick, I love that this game uses lichens and vampires for most of the story. It's nice to have some classic monsters that aren't zombies or slime.
True.
Ethan finds that while in between the car crash and being brought before Mother Miranda, his daughter Rose was put into 4 different flasks that were shared with Miranda's children, and that he needs to get these flasks back to put them in the weird machine that progresses the story.
What the fuck?
The baby was chopped up into pieces and put in flasks.
I got that. What the fuck?
After killing the vampire lady with the big booty, Ethan gets the first flask, goes back to town, and works his way through the other 3 quote-unquote children, collecting the flasks. Once he has all 4, he gets a big exposition dump from Chris Redfield, and then fights a giant mold monster with a homemade tractor tank. Here, Ethan dies. Another exposition dump. Yes, this is similar to the mold that we fought in Resident Evil 7, but it's a different strain. It's not the same one. While Ethan did die, he actually got absorbed as a possible form for the mold to take. Miranda had taken Mia's shape and had replaced her by the start of the game because she was trying to get hold of Rose. When Ethan comes back, he has a final boss fight against a transformed Mother Miranda. This somehow brings Rose back to life, and the story ends with a black screen and white text that says, quote, "The father's story is now done."
That's a lot of shit that happened.
Thank you. Visuals. Insert meme format. Resident Evil 4 Remake looks good, but I like this. Resident Evil 8 is really great. The gore is juicy and gross. Hair looks pretty solid. I like that it looks like multiple strands, like real hair. It's not just, the solid lump hair that you get in a Lego game or a lot of older games. I really like the setting for this game. It's a snowy Transylvania with different places to visit. The castle feels fitting for the world, as well as the village outside of the castle. There's a swampy lakeside with windmills and a dam. There's a weird abandoned cabin that's on a mountainside and it's lost in the fog. The last level is a bit of a stretch for me. It's a big factory that's making a bunch of Hellraiser-style monsters, kind of like the nightmare-fueled toys that Andy's weird neighbor kid makes in Toy Story 1. It's
Kinky.
like the Barbie legs with the propeller as a body. Like, literally, that's what these monsters are. Sound design. The opening minutes of the game are an example of how good the sound design is in this game. After the car crash, when Ethan is walking through the woods in the dark, you hear his footfalls as he trudges through the snow. You hear him shivering and breathing heavy because he's cold. You also hear things moving through the trees around you in the dark. It's awesome. When you're alone in the castle, just like Resident Evil 7, you hear the castle creaking in the wind. You hear people walking the hallways and closing doors nearby, despite you thinking that you're alone. Later in the level, when Lady Dimitrescu is pissed off and threatening to step on you, you can hear her stomping around looking for you.
I've seen the gameplay of that segment for research purposes. It gets very scary when she leans down into a doorway and is like, "Hello!"
It is actually a good jump scare because you're like, you watch her walk through and you're like, is she gone? She's gone. You go to open the door. She's like, hello, my chest is here.
Fucking like smile door car window type shit. So good. Weird. So good.
The voice acting in this game is pretty spot on. The disgustingly fat merchant snuffles as he's talking, like he's talking around his cheeks and jowls.
That's great.
But he's also breathing heavy, despite always sitting. Lady Dimitrescu sounds cold and menacing most of the time, but has incredible range. Sometimes she can sound sweet, and other times she barks in anger, and it all sounds incredible.
Woof.
Ethan pulls off some really emotional moments that I hadn't really picked up the first time I played this. Especially when the survivors are killed and he's the only one left. He vehemently swears and asks the sky why everyone is dying around him. And the delivery was really solid. Guns sound really good in this game. There are a couple of different types of pistols or shotguns you can get. And they sound unique from each other. So you get like the classic to the side-by-side, and then you can upgrade to like the military pump one, and they all sound different.
Crunch.
The sniper rifle is equal parts loud and menacing. Very good. Gameplay. I start this with, I don't think there's too much here for me to say that I haven't already said before, because it's in the RE engine. It all works pretty much the same. You stop moving to get the tighter reticle and try to get the headshots. Like, the health button is the right bumper. I think that was in RE7 if I remember right, for like a quick heal. The D-pad, you can assign what weapon goes on which key of the D-pad so that you can switch weapons quickly and easily. It's all the same to a point. This game feels a lot less like a puzzle and more straightforward. I'm sure you can sequence break a little bit, but having played it twice, I feel that I played it almost exactly the same way, outside of like crazy studying and like speedrun strats. I don't think there's really many different ways you can play this story. It's pretty linear, straightforward. I feel like a lot of the doors and pathways you unlock during the game are really optional, at least in normal mode, because they just lead to money or things that can be sold for money or just general pickups. There's not a lot of like overlapping trails. It's just like, here's a closet where everybody hides their bullets, because of course.
Yeah, the bullet closet.
Yeah.
This is America.
No, it was Transylvania.
It's like America.
Oh, yeah. They speak English, so...
Yeah, no, it's basically America.
The actual story progressing path is very straightforward, though. The merchant has the typical buy, sell, upgrade options. There's a new idea in this game that lets you present different types of protein, and the merchant will cook up different dishes for you. Each dish has a different stat boost for the rest of the game and can only be made once. So one was like movement speed is increased, or health is increased permanently, or whatever. I think there were 7 or 8 different meals available in total. It's a really awkward interaction. You load the different ingredients required for the meal, and then you listen to the same sound every time with just a boring menu card that says the meal is being prepared, the sound of someone eating it, and then that's it. Interesting enough idea to get that permanent stat boost, but the application is a little lackluster.
It needs a quick time event, man.
No, it just done. It takes a while to make the meal and eat it and whatever. I will give credit, this excellent game was made right at the start of COVID, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a last minute idea that had to be made and shipped with limited resources. I don't know, but if you told me that, I'd believe it for sure. While it's been present in every Resident Evil game, there is one specific spot in this game where I have to scum the safe rooms to keep myself safe from the monster that's chasing me. As soon as I step into the safe room, the monster forgets that I exist and starts hunting for me in the rest of the level, despite watching me walk into the safe room. I've had it both playthroughs. Like, this exact spot, Lady Dimitrescu is gonna step on me, and I just have to hide in the safe room for like 5 minutes until she goes away so that I can get to where I'm going. Because where she spawns is like right in between, and it's impossible to run around and whatever. Very annoying. I don't feel too bad for scumming this because the level really isn't designed for being chased in circles like other Resident Evil games. It's kind of shaped like a trident, 3 pathways that mostly lead to dead ends. Like Resident Evil 1, you can run all through the house and up and down and in and out and whatever to lose whatever's chasing you, and it makes sense. But in this game, you've got 3 freaking pathways and 2 of them end.
She can back me into a corner.
I played this game on normal, and I feel that this is much more of an action game than a horror game, much like Resident Evil 4. There are a couple of good scares in this game, though. The best one, spoilers.
Uh-oh.
I know you're not going to play this game. So.
Fuck
Do you want me to skip the spoiler then?
No, I don't fucking care. You can spoil it. I want to play it eventually, but like I don't really care about spoilers that much. It just doesn't bother me.
That abandoned cabin on the mountainside in the fog. You enter the cabin, it's quiet, nothing's moving. You randomly lose your inventory for this level. They're just like, oh, fuck you, hand over everything. I didn't like that. You ride an elevator down into the basement and have to work through a kind of locked room scenario. You're running up and down the same couple hallways several times, piecing everything together. The last time you run through the hallway, you have to take a breaker from a panel next to the elevator, which turns off all the lights.
Oh, dear.
And then run back to the end of the hallway where you've been working. All of a sudden, out of the dark, a fetus the size of an SUV starts crawling towards you, absolutely screaming.
What the fuck? That's horrifying, but really fucking funny.
It's very similar to the tall guy scare stepping through the doorway and it follows.
Oof. It's
completely unexpected and it's very effective. I knew it was there this playthrough, and I was like, all right, that's coming up. Oh, it's right there. It still got me.
That's so fucking weird, man.
And it's really funny because a dude at work just played this like 2 months ago, and he was like, he's sitting in his basement playing it with the headphones on so he doesn't bother his wife. He's sitting in the dark playing this, didn't know what was coming, and it started screaming, and he just took the headphones off. It was like, that's enough for tonight.
Yeah. Oof.
Back to the point that this is more of an action game, I rarely ever ran out of ammo or healing items. Pickups were common, and the crafting system made pausing and crafting what I needed quick and easy. Both times I've played this, I had all kinds of Magnum ammo for the final fight because I didn't have to use it up to that point. I don't think I even used the Magnum in the first playthrough because I was like, I don't need this thing, get it out of here, I need inventory space. But this time I was like, no, I'm gonna fire it because I've never fired it before and just burn through the last 2 bosses quick. Pew! I don't think I've talked about it before, but a feature that I love about most of these Resident Evil games has been the ability to do a quick heel spin by pulling back on the left stick and pressing circle at the same time. I wish it would become a thing in other games, especially shooters. It would make getting shot at from behind a lot easier to manage and not just an almost guaranteed death. I use it so much in these Resident Evil games. It's just so helpful for movement to do 180 spin like really quick. It's awesome. And yeah, I really think Call of Duty needs this because it makes sense in my brain. In closing, I survived. Thank you. I enjoyed this one a lot more than I remembered. It checks all the boxes for me. A couple of good scares, a couple decent challenges, great atmosphere, memorable monsters and villains. If I had to listicle, I would say this gets 3rd place. Resident Evil 7 gets 2nd, and Resident Evil 2 Remake gets my favorite.
Yeah, fair.
But honestly, they are really, really close in quality and enjoyment. Most of the rest of the list is a pretty big drop-off, but I don't need to go through all that again. I wanted to review the story DLC that was released several months after this game was released because it follows Rose as she discovers she has some sort of mold powers, but I didn't have time. As far as I know, this is the only story DLC for a Resident Evil game that might have any significance on the next entry. Resident Evil 7 had a couple weird spin-off DLCs, and some of them had a story, but it was really just closing up loose threads in that game. There was a weird side game with the retarded son. There was another family stuck in the same bayou, like dealing with the mold monsters, but it didn't have anything to do with Resident Evil 8 and where we end up with that. I'm confident that I will be reviewing that DLC during next month's Dime Gaming Bros Happy Hour.
Yes, I need it.
I'm a little more than halfway through it right now.
Nice.
And it's jank.
Wicked. That's the end of the show, folks.
That's the end of
all,
the
folks.
Resident Evils. I'm dying.
For now.
For now.
Until 9 comes out.
No, I wait.
Until you get the itch, and then you finally play Revelation 1 and 2.
I don't think so.
Until I get the itch, and then I just change all my plans for the next year and do what you just did. I won't. Don't let me do that, please.
I will shoot you.
Good. Don't let me do that.
And then you'll come back as a mold monster.
That's true. Hey, man, I kind of want to be a mold monster. They're pretty cool. Is it gross? Yes. Would I have, like, the ick? Yes. But, like...
You have the ick now.
Exactly. You know, I already feel every molecule of sweat in my armpit as is. So, like, whatever.
But as a mold monster, you wouldn't have sweat in your armpit.
I would be the armpit.
You are the sweat.
I am the armpit. If you want to hear more assorted bullshittery, we have a supplement show. You take it every week, like a multivitamin or whatever. I don't know how pills work. Dime Gaming Bros and Dime Comic Bros Happy Hour, where we have a drink, like it's happy hour, at a bar, and then we talk mad shit or whatever, you know. Other game reviews that aren't...
I have a story.
I have a game review, so we're loaded today.
Yeah, we are.
You know, random stuffage, weird stories, personal tall tales, you know how it is. You can...
Legends, you may say. Colin threw up last week.
Did he?
No.
Oh. Wait, are you lying? Are you gaslighting me? If you want to get access to that, as well as early access to all of our podcast episodes, and get your name shouted out like Caitlin and Jeff Lorenz,
whoa,
and get some cool stickers and bookmarks, and other cool things that I don't remember, you should go...
like end of season bonuses?
Maybe. You should go to patreon.com/Dime Comic Bros Network and sign up under one of the tiers there and give me money. So we'll give you stuff. That's how the economy works.
Do your Mr. Crab impression.
Hello, I like buddy.
Thank you.
That wasn't even that good for my usual. A big thank you to the people that we give our money to over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They have video games sometimes, and a pinball machine, and a fighting game machine. And, you know, comics and books and, you know,
other nerd shit.
Things to rot your brain in a different way.
Yeah.
They're a local comic shop, shop local and stuff and things. Next month... I haven't decided yet, actually.
Oh, you big stinky.
So the problem is, I was going to do Prince of Persia 2008, the first reboot-ish that I do have installed. Yep. I need to replay because it's been a couple of years.
Yep.
But I've been on a Disco Elysium kick, which was going to be my one for the month after, because Disco Elysium's a bit bigger and there's lots of options and... very different vibes, so I was gonna give it more time to cook, but at my current rate I'm just burning through that shit because it's scratching the itch. So it's a total toss-up what I'm gonna review next month. It's one of those two.
Last week, if you had asked me, I would have said I'm gonna review Neon White this coming month, but I played 3/4 of it this week, and so I don't know if I'll have enough of it in my brain to talk about. So, it might change.
Damn.
We don't know. We shall see.
Who knows what godforsaken movie we're going to talk about.
Ugh.
We're moving into the very blighted period, where almost all of them were bad.
Moving into the vault.
True. But not like the cool vault, where apparently there's a tentacle...
It's just a trash can.
Yeah, no. Yeah, apparently there's a big tentacle monster in the vault, too. That's a thing, I guess, you know, like whatever.
I think so, actually.
Yeah, I know. In the movie, it definitely came out of fucking nowhere.
Yep.
Tentacles.
And there was nothing in the vault.
No. Why would there be something in the vault? Pfft, idiot.